Here is a list of the most compelling comments we have received in the last 5 days. Want to get on it? Leave a constructive and positive comment below to increase your chances, and we'll choose the best ones. Young girl found adrift at sea. Decades later, she reveals horrifying truth. While many people might think otherwise, children can be some of the most adaptive age groups in the world. This adaptation allows them to survive many impossible cases. Cases like this one. The story starts with the Dupperalt family who was about to go on a trip of a lifetime as Dr. Arthur Dupperalt and his wife Jean has been saving money to make the journey for a long time. They also took their children, 14-year-old Brian, 11-year-old Terry Jo, and 7-year-old Renee, so that they would have a vacation they would never forget. Unfortunately, while it was true that one of them would never forget it, the reason would be far more heartbreaking. They chartered a boat, the 60-foot Ketch Bluebell, to take them on a week's holiday to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to explore the islands of the Bahamas. On November 8, 1961, the ship set sail with the Dupperalt family safely on board. One Julian Harvey was the captain of the vessel, and he had brought his wife, Mary Danae, along for the ride too. For 4 days then, the trip went just as the Dupperalts had planned. During that idyllic period, the Bluebell headed east, aiming for the small islands of Bimini. And from there, the Dupperalts hit Sandy Point, a community on the island of Great Abaco. Here was the perfect spot for the group to drop anchor and enjoy a spot of snorkeling. They also gathered shells on the beautifully colored sands. Then, toward the end of his stay on the island, Arthur Dupperalt spoke with Roderick W. Pinder, Sandy Point's village commissioner. Reportedly, Dupperalt casually commented, "This has been a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. We'll be back before Christmas." But his words would sadly never come true. As the group set off once more to return on the evening of November 12th, young Terry Jo Dupperalt decided to retire to her cabin for an early night. However, her brother's cries woke her later in the evening, and she knew immediately that something was awry. "I was awakened by my brother screaming, 'Help, Daddy, help!'" Terry Jo, who now goes by the name Terry Dupperalt Fassbender, told Fox News almost 50 years later. It was the type of scream that you know that something horrible is happening. In fact, Captain Harvey, a 44-year-old military pilot with a troubled past, had chosen that particular night to murder his wife of just 4 months. The reason? Harvey had not long taken out a life insurance policy on Danae. Apparently, Harvey intended to dispose of Danae's body overboard and report her as lost at sea. However, this wasn't the first time that Harvey had brutally lost a wife. Later, it was reportedly discovered that the captain had extraordinarily escaped from a car crash that had taken the life of one of his 5 previous spouses. What's more, he had already received sizable insurance payments after both his yacht and his powerboat had sunk. However, with this newest apparent scam, things didn't quite go to plan. Dr. Dupperalt allegedly saw Harvey attacking Danae and intervened, only for Harvey to kill him. Desperate to get rid of any other witnesses to the crimes, Harvey then reportedly murdered the remaining members of the Dupperalt family who'd been awake during the altercation, except for Terry Jo, who had been sleeping in her cabin below deck. When she emerged a few minutes later, Terry Jo found her mother and brother in a pool of blood on the cabin floor and quickly went to the captain to find out what was going on, as any scared child would. However, the only answer she got was Harvey pushing her back to the decks below, and the girl cowered back in her bunk, now alone and very afraid. She stayed there for a while until water began flooding her cabin, which made her venture up once more. Then Harvey, who had opened up the ship's sea valves with the intention of scuttling the vessel, gave Terry Jo a rope attached to a dinghy to hold. Later, Terry Jo's friend Richard D. Logan would speculate that Harvey planned on murdering the girl as well. Logan told Today in 2010, when he saw her on deck, he realized, "Oh my God, there's a possibility she might survive. I better kill her." So he went forward to get a knife or something to kill her, but she did not hold on to the line. Instead, Terry Jo dropped the rope, and Harvey allegedly dove into the sea to catch up with the dinghy. In effect, he abandoned her on the sinking ship. But the newly orphaned girl was a lot tougher than she looked. Terry Jo said that she then unfastened a tiny cork float from the boat and sailed away on it just as the Bluebell disappeared beneath the waves. Thereafter, wearing just the light blouse and rosy pants, she was at the mercy of the elements. At night, she was exposed to the freezing winds, and in the morning, the harsh sunlight would scorch her skin. With Terry Jo drifting alone in the middle of the ocean, the odds were slim that a passing plane or vessel would catch sight of her. But one day, a small aircraft passing overhead raised her hopes. Alas, the pilots did not see her. That said, someone, or rather something, had spotted her. One afternoon, Terry Jo spied some mysterious forms beneath the ocean surface near to her raft. Coming closer, a panicked Terry Jo was soon relieved when she saw that they were only porpoises. However, that relief was short-lived as the harsh environment soon took its toll, and Terry Jo began to hallucinate. At one point, for instance, she imagined a small barren island up ahead, but when she attempted to splash toward it, the island sadly vanished. At last, tired, hungry, and traumatized, Terry Jo collapsed into oblivion. Yet fate still had a hand to play. Eventually, Captain Theo, a Greek freighter passing through the Northwest Province Channel that cuts through the Bahamas, discovered and rescued Terry Jo. She was near death, with a fever of 105 degrees Fahrenheit and suffering sunburn and severe dehydration. One of the crew also snapped a photo of her frail form floating in the tiny boat on a vast ocean, and this image subsequently made headlines around the world. 3 days previously, the Coast Guard had found Harvey floating in Bluebell's dinghy along with Renee's dead body. The killer had claimed that a sudden storm had battered the ship and sparked a fire, ultimately sinking the vessel. He also said that he had unsuccessfully attempted to revive the girl after finding her in the water. However, soon after news of Terry Jo's rescue had reached him, Harvey took his own life. Police discovered his lifeless body behind his hotel room's bathroom door. Meanwhile, Terry Jo recovered from her horrific ordeal in a Miami hospital. And finally, some 7 days after her dramatic rescue, police officials were able to talk to the brave little girl. It was then that Terry Jo gave her first account of that terrible night. Terry Jo's family also later memorialized the deceased at the Fort Howard Memorial Park in Wisconsin. The plaque there states, "In memory of the Arthur W. Dupperalt family, lost off the Bahama Isles, November 12, 1961. Found in the hearts of their loved ones, dwelling forever with Him who is eternal life. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." However, life for Terry Jo went on. After being released from the hospital, she went back to Green Bay, Wisconsin to reside with her aunt and her 3 cousins. For the next 20 years, though, she didn't speak to anyone about the traumatic events of November of 1961. Then, in the 1980s, she began to open up to a few close friends about what she'd experienced. This led her to seek psychiatric care and later co-author a book with Logan called Alone, Orphaned on the Ocean. In it, she discusses her experiences in depth. Terry Jo finally published the book in May of 2010, almost half a century after her ordeal had taken place. Incredibly, during signings for the book, people from Terry Jo's past turned up, In a 2010 interview with CBS News, she said, "We had a book signing last month, and some of my teachers from 49 years ago showed up just to see that I was all right after all these years. They said they were sorry for not being able to talk to me and help. In those years, they were told to pretend like it never happened. I learned to live with staying quiet." Terry Jo also reflected on her childhood ordeal through the words she spoke in her 2010 interview with Today. "I was never frightened. I was an outdoors child and I love the water," she said. She added, "I had strong faith. I believed in God and I prayed for Him to help me, and I just went with the flow." In fact, Terry Jo still works around water today. She has also credited the book as the culmination of her healing process, and she hopes that it will help other people looking to overcome incidents of tragedy in their own lives. "I always believed I was saved for a reason," she said to CBS News. "But it took me 50 years to gain the strength to be able to give other people hope with my story."